How would you recommend someone who wants to start a course or already has a course but doesn't necessarily have an audience?
So it's just really simple steps. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. Your audience doesn't have to be massive.
How do you price your course?
So there's a real psychological thing to think about with pricing.
Ali Abdul, he's just encouraging everyone on YouTube to create courses because it's such a good business model.
That's what I call where you'll have some pre-recorded online content for your customers, and then alongside it, like you say, for the accountability, because you can find that content everywhere else. So nothing's ever passive.
I created courses back in 2018, 19, 20 that are still selling to this day with very good profit margin, 85, 90% profit margins. Selling it is a completely different ball game. Back in 2020, 21, 22, it was relatively easy to sell courses where you can have like videos, like 4 hours, 5 hours of videos. I feel like the way that we're heading in 2024, the problem is not a lack of information out there. The thing that people are particularly struggling now is today we have entrepreneur and funnel expert Kate MacGregor.
Kate's primary zone of expertise is to help business owners create online courses and membership communities for their existing and new clients.
So if you're a business owner looking to scale through online courses and memberships, then stay tuned.
In this episode, we'll dive deep into Kate's insights on creating and monetizing online courses and membership communities.
How to actually sell those courses, because often creating the course is the easy part, then you have to sell them.
And the lessons she learned from helping hundreds of clients create and sell their own courses.
Get ready to unlock the secrets to success in the digital age as we explore the future of courses and memberships with Kate MacGregor.
This is the Playstack podcast, where we talk everything YouTube growth. All right, awesome. Kate, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. We know each other for quite a few years now. We met maybe once or twice in person, but then kept in touch over the years. We built our own businesses and developed from there. And now it's it seems like we're heading in the similar direction of what we're doing. And so I wanted to get you on the podcast to pick your brain a little bit on online content creation and course creation and funnel creation and how to help online businesses. So yeah, welcome. And maybe to start off with, could you give us a quick intro of who you are?
Yeah,
and
sure.
what you do?
Thank you so much for having me here as well, guys. Love the content that you're creating on your podcast and everywhere else too. So, kia ora, I'm Kate. I am from New Zealand. I'll try to speak slowly because I know we speak very fast. And I help online business owners create passive income, I guess, and get a little bit more freedom out of office via the online course landscape and digital products. So I provide done for you and done with you services, predominantly on the Kajabi platform, where we can help people build their full online business from website funnels, bring in leads and sell to them, and then deliver the online course hosting from there as well. So that's what I do. My business is called Out of Office because that's where I like to be, and that's what I like to help my clients to achieve as well, more of.
Thanks for jumping on the podcast, Kate. I was particularly interested because I've built one of my businesses primarily from course sales as well. So I started creating courses in 2018, and it's such an incredible business model. I know that Ali Abdul, he's just kind of encouraging everyone on YouTube to create courses because it's such a good business model. I created courses back in 2018, 19, 20 that are still selling to this day with very good profit margins. 85, 90% profit margins. And as you say, it's a relatively passive income in that I respond to a few emails and I respond a bit in the community, and that's about it. However, what I'm seeing personally is kind of a shift from where we're seeing, like back in 2020, 21, 22, it was relatively easy to sell courses where you can have like videos, like 4 hours, 5 hours of videos. I feel like the way that we're heading in 2024, the problem is not a lack of information out there. There's almost unlimited information in terms of like on YouTube, on Google. The thing that people are particularly struggling now is the actual implementation, the accountability, the taking action side of it. And what's interesting about what you do is you not only help businesses create courses, but you also help businesses create masterminds as well, where you have more of a kind of accountability.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. We saw it coming out of COVID. It probably took a year to really see the difference for in COVID, what we saw at the start of COVID was everyone needing to go online. A lot of coaches and teachers that teach in person locally and things like that. So that's where my business kind of ramped up and started, was helping all those people just to get their content online. And definitely coming out the other side of it now is what I call, and I think we're almost out the other side of this as well, but it's what I call the hybrid model, where you'll have some pre-recorded online content for your customers, and then alongside it, like you say, for the accountability, the in-person part of it. So whether that is a live community that you're heavily involved in, or regular Zoom call, group calls, or one-to-one coaching alongside it as well. So important. And I think I actually don't love that I use the word passive, because I always remind everybody that, an online course is never passive. It never will be. And especially more so now, like you say, having that hybrid model, but also keeping the content up to date. And because you can find that content everywhere else, it's being the lead in your expertise of having that content up to date. So nothing's ever passive. And of course, if it's an evergreen course, you're constantly having to market to get people into it as well. So it's definitely not the easy route for especially first-time business owners.
Do you see that you have to educate new clients on this specific thing a lot? Like maybe a lot of business owners that think of like, yeah, I agree. Like I like to make courses. I like to make online money. Do you need to set like proper expectations with them of like, hey, like, look, a course is not like as easy as you think necessarily, especially in this day and age. Like how does that conversation go?
Yeah, definitely.
Usually?
I ask a lot of questions of people if they're very new to online business and they don't already have any kind of existing audience, or know that there's a demand for the online course. What happens a lot is people love the idea of making an online course, and they go ahead and do that because it's so accessible to us all now. You only need your phone and your headphones, and away you go, right? To record yourself. And a lot of the time people will come to me and they've already made their online course and they need to bring people into it. But, backtrack a lot of steps. You need to have an audience ready. You need to have tested the market, know that there is a demand for the specific niche. Often less is more in terms of what you're teaching, especially now if you're having pre-recorded, hybrid, and in person. But there's so many different varieties of ways that you can have an online course and who you're delivering it to as well. I have what you would expect, regular teachers, tutors, experts in their field that want to create an online course to sell so they can make that passive income, so that they can serve a lot more people because they're already at capacity. But then I also have a lot of clients that are already very established in their businesses and are just looking for alternative ways to deliver their message, and or breaking into the corporate world. So, delivering en masse to a corporate group of people, and being able to deliver it that way is with the bulk of the information via the recorded videos and or worksheets and things, and then having them self in person, which is like the real VIP. That is, the most expensive level of people working with them is in person. So getting a touch of the in person as well as an online course is a real benefit to a lot of people. But yeah, and I'm sure you guys teach this all the time as well. People that have overnight success, they've always started from a base that isn't at the bottom. They've already got a live active audience, a big audience, or a very doesn't even need to be big, just really interested audience, hot audience, or they've had a very successful business elsewhere and then they've managed to niche over to somewhere else and brought people with them. So that's most commonly what's going on. Or they've had some great help from guys like you in creating natural content, organic content via YouTube and social channels that they've then been able to just go, here goes something I can sell you guys, and that hot audience is there.
If a client comes to you, and like you say, some of the clients that come to you, they have already built the course, but they're struggling to sell it, because I feel like building the course is arguably the easy part. As you say, like all you really need is a phone and some headphones, and then you can go away. But in my opinion, selling it is a completely different ball game, and you need your kind of traffic engine and a funnel to go with that. How would you recommend someone who wants to start a course or already has a course but doesn't necessarily have an audience? What would you recommend to them? Like what would a very simple funnel
I love
look
the way
like?
that you just use simple, because that's exactly it. It only has to be simple. and I would recommend they spend time building an audience and speaking to that audience, engaging, connecting with them, finding out what their real struggles and pains are, and just park the course to one side. It may be that the first course that they need to deliver to this audience once they've grown it is far less than what they've already created, or they can chop it and use part of it. But right now, park it, grow the audience via the regular sales funnels. So opt-in, giving away ebooks, webinars, workshops, content for free that's valuable, that people want, offering their time where they can to people. Yeah, and gathering content as much as possible about their audience that way, and then being able to chip away at it. So you may start your course actually just delivering the first workshop or the first video as like a webinar or a workshop, and you're there in person with people as you're teaching it, and then able to get the feedback from that and go on and find out who wants to move on to the next step and find out more. So it's just really simple steps. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. And I think when people do come to me in that situation, which is very common, they have already read all the books, they've watched all of the webinars, I've signed up to all the courses to find out how to do it, and they've just got themselves, and maybe even they've signed up to something like Kajabi that can be so overwhelming when they come in, because there's so many things that you can do in Kajabi, but you don't have to be doing them all at once, and you don't have to do all of them to start either. So Kajabi used to have in their dashboard a progress percentage of the building of your Kajabi, and they took it away because everybody was trying to get to 100% built all the time. But you don't have to have done everything, just a simple opt-in, collect some email addresses, and then serve that audience to start off with is the simplest step.
As part of your audience building, like what platforms are, according to you, the easiest, especially in a niche place? For example, you mentioned email. Is that your number one priority? I'm personally building on LinkedIn. Mike obviously built his business off of YouTube. Which ones are the ones that you recommend for people? Because I'm also thinking not everybody is a creative, right? Not everybody is good at making content. Like making videos on YouTube is not as easy as people think. Like, yes, you can just create we like to use Loom, what is literally just like a screen and face recording. But a lot of people overthink it and are not as natural in it. Like, so what would you recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend people start with ways that they've already taught in the past. So, how are you currently coaching clients? How are you currently delivering? They might be doing in-person workshops. So can those slides just turn to online, and we're delivering to an online group of people? The email marketing is almost like the second tier, because you need to have some emails to be able to, some email addresses to be able to email to. So like you say, if you're building on LinkedIn or on YouTube, that is where you are nurturing the audience and gaining that trust with the organic value that you're giving. But eventually you're going to want to grab their email addresses in some form, because going back to I used to teach organic social media marketing pre-COVID times, and we know that we don't own the platforms, we don't own anything that's on the platforms, and your email list is the closest thing that you really own in your business. So ideally they're like become a warm to hot market, because they've already opted in to get something that you like. But I think it's just, back to your question, what people are most comfortable with. Because if you are not comfortable sitting in front of a Zoom delivering something to 50 people, then what can we start with? Can we be offering some free or cheap coaching sessions to one-to-one individuals and gathering content that way, gathering trust and giving value that way? The other thing is too, your audience doesn't have to be massive. They just have to be really keen on what you have to deliver. I've worked with some clients in so many different niche here, and on Kajabi there's so many different courses about anything, and there's people that always want to know what they're interested in the same circles as you. So just finding those people on social platforms or in your existing networks as well.
So you mentioned about kind of capturing email lists to essentially opt them into a email funnel. Are you finding that some audiences convert better with email funnels than others? For example, and I don't have any evidence to back this up, it's just kind of theory based, but I'd imagine that LinkedIn, if you're growing a LinkedIn following, it means that your audience probably like to read. They'd like to consume by reading. And that's why they're on LinkedIn, as opposed to your audience on YouTube that probably like to consume visually. And therefore, I'd assume that an email funnel would have a better conversion rate if you use that email funnel on the LinkedIn following as opposed to the YouTube following. And then a YouTube following, you might also have an email funnel, but have more kind of Loom videos, have more kind of visual content. Firstly, in terms of social media, which kind of particular platform, like there's some platforms are you seeing have better conversion rates when it comes to email funnels, and also in terms of niches as well. So I'd imagine, again, I have nothing to back this up, but I'd imagine that niches like copywriters and authors and maybe white collar workers would have a better conversion rate with email funnels as opposed to other niches? Have you seen any
Yeah,
evidence to
that's a
suggest
really
that or not?
interesting concept, and I semi-agree with you, again, though, without really having any facts about it. I think just by default, some will write better than others in an email. The other thing is, too, it doesn't, without, simplify it again, doesn't have to be a funnel. I love to automate things as much as possible, of course, to free up time. But to start off with, it doesn't have to be a funnel. It can just be regular emails as your audience is growing. But yeah, in terms of what the customers consume, perhaps you're right. People that are more heavily video based, it would still be sending them an email, but there would be a screenshot of the video in the email to look like there's a video, and sending them straight to wherever the video is from the email. But I think it could be something that is overthought too much, because again, I see a lot of people come to me and they've come from some of the gurus of the online marketing space who teach, the way to do the email marketing, and send a lot of emails every day. That won't work for a lot of people, and especially when they're starting out. They'll have people unsubscribing like crazy straight away. It's also just about communicating with your audience as well. So letting them know what's going to happen. You're going to receive an email from me every week now. Feel free to let me know what you want to hear about or see, and feel free to unsubscribe. And it's just about managing the expectations. My whole thing is about customer journey, and always just over the top of communications wherever you are in your online business, hosting and online courses and sales funnels and email marketing and everything. So yeah, I think people could overthink that. So it's possibly a little bit about testing the market as well.
Because I created my first few courses 2018-ish, and then I sold directly from YouTube, which worked okay. But then I created 2 email funnels, or 2 email sequences rather. One was a very simple 5-day sales email sequence, so they'd get an email every day for 5 days. And then if they didn't buy after that, then they would be sent to a second email sequence, which was like 1 email every week, or one email every 2 weeks. And it's a very automated process. And what I like about that is that all the kind of prospect needs to do is download my lead magnet, and I have like 5 or 6 lead magnets, and then they're opted in. And then essentially I'm sending them emails, 98% value in the emails, and then 2% just selling, oh, by the way, I have this course if you want to learn more. And that was kind of a big eye opener for me, because it's so automated. And I love setting systems up that, and you're right, it's not 100% passive. I still have to still spend like 4 hours a week-ish making YouTube videos. And if I don't keep making those YouTube videos, then the funnel will dry up. So it's not 100% passive. But it is a nice, I guess, semi-automated process.
It's definitely recommended, and especially if you have large volume coming through, obviously, from your YouTube channel or wherever it is, or, people that really want that hot thing that you're giving away for free or low ticket. Of course, have a nurture sequence there. Yeah, I think with anything, email marketing was very similar to YouTube. It's all about consistency, so good value and consistency. So when I think about my own inbox, because I'm opting into things all day long, my own inbox, the emails that stick out to me are the ones that are definitely consistent. I know who emails on a Sunday morning, and I want to read what they've got to say on a Sunday morning. And they're the ones. That's what I think you really have to aim for. Even that Sunday morning email I receive, I have not bought from that person yet, but one day the right offer will be there and I will buy straight away. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm active on LinkedIn, and so I'm now trying to be more strategic in a way by, for example, using this podcast and the teachings in this podcast to repurpose on the LinkedIn, but then also now starting with a LinkedIn. This is actually where it's not clear at all, and it's very vague of what needs to be done, because on LinkedIn you can do articles, you can do newsletter, but then you can also do email newsletter. So I'm like, it's easier to grow a LinkedIn newsletter, but harder to monetize. And then I don't see the purpose of an article on LinkedIn separately, because it's just an article and like an extended post. So like these are the things that I'm trying to figure out. I think the third one is now the email newsletter. Reason that we have not actively pursued this, and we have email sequences in place, but not an email newsletter, is because it would need consistent effort to maintain that newsletter. And as a business owner, you know how much work you already have. And then if you want to put something consistent on your plate, that is really difficult. So do you have any like advice on like how you would approach a newsletter, like templatize it, or like
Yeah, I
how
think
does that look
definitely
like?
templating is a great idea. So anywhere you can systemize without losing the personal customer service touch, I guess depending on your audience. So if they're a big reading audience, then yeah, whatever goes. But I think if they're not, then keeping them short, sharp, to the point, having bullet pointed content at the top that they can click through to read the relevant parts to them, and yeah, just the consistency. I don't know much about the LinkedIn email newsletters. So you collect the emails, I presume.
No, it's literally just subscribing from
Yeah,
LinkedIn
right.
itself. So, I mean, it was just me talking out loud and thinking, like, what's the use of it? Although you have subscribed, so people get notified in a
Yeah,
way, I
so
suppose.
yeah, so
Versus,
it's potentially just
yeah,
more for like I don't know, leaders in corporate that are wanting to share their knowledge with people without really worrying about growing the email list. I guess the only that so that's easy because then they don't have to worry about any other system or platform to do that on. But and they can repurpose content easily from LinkedIn. But again, it's just always knowing that you never own whatever it is you're putting out there. I think the articles on LinkedIn are similar to blogs, right? So they just provide some probably a little bit more long form content in terms of searchable. They stick around for a bit longer than the posts. Um, yeah, and yeah. So if people are really into writing rather than videos, then yeah, it's great. I've used them in the past to repurpose content for sure.
yeah. And then, so one other big topic that people are probably asking when creating a course is the pricing point. Like, how do you price your course? And then later on, I kind of want to know, like, how else can you monetize once you have your course audience? Like, how do we go further? But let's start with, like, how do you consult your clients on how to price their courses so they're actually still attractive to use and not scaring away too many
Yeah,
people?
I would say most people come to me with they already have a price in mind, and we work from there. I guess it has to, from a personal point of view, from your own business personal point of view, fit into your sales ladder in the right place. Because jumping ahead to your second part of that question, your course is somewhere in your sales ladder where you have probably something underneath it and something above it that you're wanting to offer to people as well. So it's just getting the price point right depending on how much if you're already coaching one-to-one, how much is that, and how it all fits in. The one thing I would say is when you're starting out, it's easier to start low and go up than it is to start high and come back down again with pricing. So the other thing that has to be taken into account with pricing as well is and there's so much to think about here, but the model or the method of the course that you're delivering. Obviously, how much of your time is it taking once you've recorded? So, are you delivering in person as well? But also, if it's a launch course where a cohort's coming in and all going through it together, how many people are there coming together? X amount times X amount that you're selling, and still being able to give the value. Are you limiting it? That kind of thing. If it's evergreen, it's a whole nother story again. I would say evergreen, probably the price is lower than if you're taking people through a cohort together, because obviously they get you, but you still have to take into account the efforts that go on behind the scenes that make it not passive. So the marketing and the updated content and nurturing too. As much as we can have email sequences going alongside a course to nudge people along and keep them accountable, there's nothing better than an in-person conversation or a personalized email from your own inbox rather than just from your email marketing, to help people along as well, or the community aspect of it. So there's so many ways you can price as well. So I have some really great, I guess, personal examples that I've enjoyed other than the regular, one-time payment. Actually, the very first online business course I did, I had the opportunity of paying monthly to watch all of the lessons and modules for as long as I needed it, and then I could cancel, or I could pay in full a much larger sum and have it for the rest of my life, this business course. Of course, I chose monthly because I thought I was going to whiz through it really quickly, and I didn't, because everything takes time, and I had to grow the audience, and then I had to, I wasn't ready to learn about Facebook ads while I was still growing my audience and things like that from the organic perspective. So I probably ended up paying, the same amount, if not more, than what I could have if I bought it. So there's a real psychological thing to think about with pricing. Another really popular model at the moment, mostly around membership style courses, is not just monthly payments. There's one scale and the other. There's weekly payment, has a really interesting psychological situation going on that I've been speaking to people about. So you have people stay longer than a monthly payment, depending, of course, on the numbers that you have coming in, the leads that you have coming in. The other opportunity at the other scale is I belong to a membership like this at the moment. I pay every 3 months, so it's quarterly, essentially. Yeah, it's just thinking about how you're delivering the content to keep up with that as well. So every 3 months I pay, but every month there's new content delivered to me in that membership. And even though it's all automated, it kind of just takes some kind of administration out of my brain that I don't have to think about every month. So there's lots of different concepts. I think individually it depends on people's types of content they're delivering, size of amount of people that are going to come into their course or their digital program or their membership.
For sure. Yeah. So you touched upon cohorts and stuff, and then makes me think about webinars and stuff as well. Like, is that still very popular? Like, for example, Ali Abdal is stopping his cohorts because it does take so much effort. What's the pros and cons for cohorts, for example?
The pros are you have a captive audience all working at the same time together through the course. A whole different kind of launch as well, like starting before the course, like the marketing aspect of it. So all the effort goes in for the launch because the doors close and then everybody's in together and we go through. I have a client doing this at the moment. They've just done their 4th launch. They do I think it's over 12 weeks, and they do live group cohort calls, question and answer type calls every 2 weeks. And everyone's expected to have done that amount of progress leading up to that call, so that the questions and answers are regarding that specific part of the course or that topic. So the pro of that is that, people progress because they don't want to miss out on the live call. They need to be at the same state as everyone else. The other advantage of that is that it's actually the exact same content every time. So they don't have to keep recreating the content. The demand is just for the people to get in while it's open, which is really great for them. In between times, they are massively creating content, but for free. Podcasts, they get sponsorship as well. They're making money through sponsorship, but they just create tons and tons of content in between time. And I guess that's where the energy is focused in between the 2 to 6 to 12 weeks of the cohort launch. Yeah. The disadvantages of it, I think, are definitely the time and effort and energy that it involves from you as the expert and coach, not just in the course, like I mentioned before, with the launch of that as well. There's a whole nother energy than just an evergreen open cart all the time, which is a different energy. And yeah, I guess it depends too on what your ultimate end goal is. Do you want a group of people all together in a big community onwards, to continue to sell to as well or give value to? Or are you happy for people to just go through your course at their own pace and, eventually maybe finish and pick up something else from you at some stage? Yeah, so there's just... Or are you even going to have anything else to offer them eventually? If not, then go evergreen. Yeah, different amount of energy and effort for sure.
Yeah, and I think with cohort-based courses, the community seems to just be a lot stronger because everyone's on the same level. Everyone joined at the same time. Everyone's graduating at the same time. There's a very clear end goal that everyone is kind of focused on. I know, we've kind of played with the idea of whether we should do cohorts or not. But for me, it's just the workload going from crazy high when the cohort starts, and then when everyone graduates, the workload just kind of decreases significantly. And I don't love that increase and then decrease and increase.
It just does depend on the model of your business. The clients that I was just talking about, they've had great success with cohorts, but they only launch... I think they're only launching twice this year.
I do like that actually, Mike, for us as well, because we're already running a community with weekly calls. But big problem, what we notice is accountability, right? And so if you do, I'm thinking out loud now, this cohort system could work for people that just don't know where to start with posting their first videos on YouTube, for example, or because it's clear how YouTube works. It's the idea, it's scripting, it's filming, it's editing, it's then optimizing, right? And that could be a week by itself, come up with 20 video ideas, then write 3 scripts, film 1 video, and so on and so on. So, I mean, maybe it's something we can explore.
And as a very average non-YouTuber, that's a lot in a week.
But I mean, 1 week you come up with 20 ideas, or not a whole video by the week. That's even even Mike now figured out a whole system that he can actually post 1 a week, kind of effortless, but it's a lot of work.
And I actually think it's something that's not spoken about enough. The lack of progress through online courses. It's something I care about. Like, as a heart-centered, service provider, I care that people are going to go through that course if I've sold it to them, and because I want them to get out of office, like I want them to get to the other end and get that result. But some people don't. Once we get en masse, whatever, sell some money, make some money and sell. But I will say, it's not spoken about enough that I would love to know what the stat is. I would say 95% of people do not complete a course.
Going back to memberships, and I want to talk about I feel like one of the biggest problems with memberships is having clients join for a month, 2 months, but then cancel the subscription. So I guess it's sometimes referred to as stickiness. I kind of know the answer to this question. Like, how do you increase this kind of stickability when it comes to a membership? How do you, if it's a 1 month, kind of ongoing membership, how do you stop someone from canceling? Now, the obvious answer is to increase value and make sure that you're providing value continuously. I'm wondering if you've had any clients that have done really well with memberships, and what was their kind of formula? What were they doing to keep their clients or keep providing value to their clients for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and
I think
further?
there's a lot of different ways to do it, and it's really depending on your audience and what you teach. But I will say, I think a membership personally is the next step after an online course. It's, if someone came to me and they were fresh and they had a new business and they didn't have any kind of audience, of course we're not going to have a membership because there's nobody to join it. But so it's the other end of that is that if you launch a membership after you've had great success with online courses, you're guaranteed to have people that love you that are going to stick around, for sure. The same client that I was just talking about with those cohort launches, they haven't started a membership yet, but they're about to. I can see it coming in their marketing that they're doing. And that's going to be very successful because of, I think, the scarcity that they have around the value that they give, but they're only available on those launches twice a year, cohorts twice a year. So getting access to them to start off with, as for the experts that they are. But I think otherwise, it's just consistency with like your YouTubing, consistency with delivering, making sure the price point is right for them as well. Sometimes I would say majority of the time people will leave because of price. They don't prioritize it. So that's the first thing, maybe, to get chopped for their budgeting. So giving people options there. I know a very large all-in-one online course platform who speaks to people when they try to cancel and, gives them another opportunity. So just having another level there for people as well that can keep them in, and revisiting it every now and again as well. I mean, obviously you can make, set rules, you have to come in for a minimum of 6 months, things like that, make people kind of stick around for that long. And then at that period, really ramping things up for them so they feel like they're going to miss out if they don't continue on. The same membership that I'm part of, that's the 3-month payment, she's recently just revisited that, and it just wasn't working for her. For us, we loved it. We got delivered content every month. We only pay every 3 months, easy. There's no other sort of in-person aspect to it at all. But for her, I think that was maybe still too much for her on top of what she delivers. So she's just scaled it right back. It's going to go half the price, and we're just delivering a little bit less content every month, but we're still happy with it. It's like a vault, an online vault, so we can still access all the past content and and continue on. So there's just different ways. I would say always keeping in touch with your audience, your members, and once you have a membership too, as much as you can, making that your priority. Those people your priority. So they feel like they're important. You're there for them, obviously with boundaries wrapped around it. But so that other people want into that.
One thing that Milan and I have kind of implemented relatively recently, like 1-2 months ago, is so we have weekly management meetings, but once we spend like 5 minutes just kind of brainstorming one thing that we can improve in the mastermind. And it's usually just something relatively small, but we do that every single week. So we improve essentially 52 things in the year, and those kind of things add up. And I think it's important to have the mindset or the mentality of not just having your product stagnate, but always be working on it,
great
always
awareness.
be improving.
And your clients will see that, for sure, that you care.
And since we started implementing that, actually the quality of the calls, although the changes were small each time, but the quality of the calls have been like, we had our best calls like back to back in the last
awesome.
month. So it's
and
very
always remember
encouraging.
too, like I hate saying this, but it's a numbers game. So, as you tweak what it is that you're offering, it won't suit some people, so they will leave. But it just opens the floor for more and more to come in of what you are doing. So one more thing, making it so that if they leave, they can't come back, or they can't come back anytime soon. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I've not heard that before. Is that just for
Yeah,
membership?
for memberships, I would say, unless you have online courses. I mean, you can have online courses with limited timeframes as well, which helps push people through, progress through. But for memberships, personally know a coach here in New Zealand that does that. You're in for 3 months and you can continue on monthly after 3 months. But if you leave, you can't come back in again this year or, until whenever it opens. Because she opens and closes the doors, so people aren't just constantly coming in.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't heard of that. But that would definitely give you that fear of missing out.
People will be like, just one more month. I'll just stay one more month and then I'll see. Yeah.
A little bit changing it up to more the online side of things, like the online business. What are like some common challenges entrepreneurs face in managing the online business, and how do they overcome that? I know we have our set of challenges, and we've been doing this for a year and a half or almost 2 years actually. And we came across a lot of challenges, and if I look back at it now, it's like, how the hell did we spend so much money on this thing or this thing, and we could have avoided that if we knew this. So what are like for you, like the most common ones that you see coming across?
Definitely that, what I call shiny object syndrome, seeing what's out there in the market. This is working because this person made $6 million, and so therefore I need to be on that platform. So definitely reining it in, keeping on track to what's true to you and all you need right now. I guess alongside that becomes overwhelm because of all the things you're trying to do and all the platforms you're trying to learn and manage together. I think marketing is a really huge one for most people. So just knowing how to start marketing themselves, and then having that right strategy as well, and sticking to it again, not seeing what someone else is doing, opting into that ebook to find out about that social media strategy. So sticking to it for longevity, and keeping track of stats and things as well. Trying to think of some of the ones that come to me regularly.
It's like you're talking to us specifically.
You guys do great with that. I think, accountability is probably a really big one, especially if you're like an online business owner and you've been able to do, just go all in full time in your online business, and then you just don't have a lot of customers yet, and you're sort of sitting twiddling your thumbs trying to do the marketing and and finding all the other platforms that you could be using. So the accountability there, and just sort of sticking the course of why it is that you came into this and what it is you set out to do, is really important. Just a little bit, I guess, next level up, not delegating to experts soon enough. There's a very fine line there about, when you can afford to delegate to experts and when you still need to continue to do it yourself. And there's a lot of money mindset that comes up with that with a lot of people, but I think just the success that people will, the fastest success, or the shortest route to success, that they can get by having an expert do some of the work for them, and just taking that off their mind and focusing on what they are the expert at.
So what is that fine line where you, like, we just hired, for example, a bunch of experts to help us with our marketing and our sales, actually. I mean, we had an opportunity to do that, but we would have probably not done that if we didn't have that opportunity to get into collaborate with these people. Because we're based in Southeast Asia, for example, we have, it's easier for us to hire people. It's not as easy to hire experts, but it's easy to hire people. Mike, for example, he built his team out to 15 people before he realized he doesn't need 15 people because it's so obtainable to hire locals here. So when do you decide to hire people? When do you decide to hire experts and to delegate things away? It's very difficult.
And I don't think anyone's two stories are the same. I think often it's a lot of trial and error, but I think more than ever where we have the opportunities to do it. So, you say that you just started working with some experts there and you wouldn't have otherwise had the opportunity, but actually, if you didn't already have some of those local people that are helping you, that to have eased you of some of that load, then you never would have got to that stage where you are now anyway, to have the opportunity to work with these other people. So I think in the day where we've got so many kinds of virtual assistants that can help us with all aspects, so like myself, for example, I have 2 virtual assistants, one helping me with my own business administration, another one helping me with client work. The client work-based virtual assistant is an expert in what she does. The other one is an expert in administration, which is great for me. The first person I delegated in my business was definitely a bookkeeper. I was never going to do my taxes again for myself. So it's not necessarily to do with the day-to-day work you're doing. It's in your business to free you up. And it's not even necessarily to free up your time. As creators, it's to free up our headspace, right? So we can sit in what it is that we do and to create. Because if you're just too bogged down in the weeds of your business, it's just pulling you back from being able to move forward as quick. But sometimes, it does take some investment, some fails to learn, unfortunately, and find the right people for your business as well.
When do you work on the business, or when do you work in the business? That's like the most difficult one.
And I used to be the opposite. I used to work on my business all the time, possibly because I didn't have enough clients yet, maybe. Now I have to schedule in time to work on my business because I love working on my business. And, depending on the type of person you are as well, I guess it's almost a shiny object. It's something that can distract you from the work that actually has to be done. I've had a business coach for 5 years now. She keeps me very accountable with that sort of thing. She can see when I'm working on my business when I shouldn't be, when it's just a procrastination thing, rather than on the sales side of the business, I'm working on something else that isn't important or wasn't part of the strategy. So there's that accountability piece there again.
So in the beginning, we mentioned how courses were very popular, like pre-COVID. Community is coming up like in the last few years. What do you see the future being? Because you kind of can see it as tiers, right? Like you have your digital products, you have your courses under there, and then you have your community. Obviously, you have your services. Like we are also talking to a lot of business flippers actually, and they, for example, did a lot of affiliate sites and content sites before, and that's changing now to agencies. So we're service-based businesses. So is that something you're seeing in the space happening, or how do you see that?
I think because I help a lot of coaches, especially in the health and wellness industry, I'm seeing a little bit of pre-COVID times coming back, but because they've had a few years in the online space, that's definitely still sticking around. So I think it's almost a, I don't know how to describe it, a net of different offerings within businesses, in person, back to in person if they were already working in person, because some people just love that in person energy and they miss that over the pandemic times. And just a mix of content in amongst it, whether it's paid or not. So like podcasts, retreats seem to be making quite a decent comeback at the moment. And I think a lot of customers are looking for that too. And it's a high ticket offering, and it's once a year or twice a year. So again, similar to those launches I was talking about, it's the energy, where you're putting your energy at certain times of the year. Yeah, so like almost having a suite of offerings that are in person, online, blah, blah, blah. The other thing is too, when we think about online courses, they're not necessarily outward sales facing. It may actually just be an offer that you have for certain people that come in your life, like certain clients that just actually need that extra bit of stuff. That's what you're going to offer them. So they're not sitting on a store. No, not everybody can buy them. They're sort of like a back end menu that you're able to offer to people. Same with communities, actually. I've seen a little bit of that. So private communities, so they're not open to everybody. They're invite only, go through an interview process to get into them. I think that's definitely a thing at the moment. I think we're back to a little bit of less is more in terms of numbers. And, you don't need to have a course with 15,000 people. I think if you've got the right niche and you've got the right amount of audience, a course for 500 people at the right price is equally as good, or 50 people. Yeah.
Now that you mentioned the resort stuff and like the ghetto, like I've been to one, but as a staff member, because I was helping out actually one of our clients, and so I see that happening was in Bali. So Mike, maybe we should do one as well.
I knew
it's
you
a
was
really
gonna
nice
say that.
add-on for a mastermind,
Playstack
actually.
resort.
Because people or a cohort-based program where people have come through it together, they've got to know each other, and then the retreats at the end. Yeah, I have another friend and client doing that at the moment, and they're like, everyone's just pumped because they're going to get to meet each other at the end in this beautiful tropical location.
Yeah, that makes me think now, because like
Bali isn't that far away.
No, or
from
Vietnam in
We can
general is really nice. And then what we do is like 5-day session, and we help brainstorming, we help scripting, and we have their videos filmed there and then we help them with the business side of things. Now the reason is because there was a client from New York, and we met up in Bali. As an online business owner, you see each other through the screens and everything, and it was an amazing experience to actually just sit down with that person and really talk like, okay, what's next between your business and our business, and how can we help each other? And since that meeting, things started accelerating as well. So I do agree that in person, face to face is like super important.
Yeah, it's gold.
This
it's
is
gold,
really
and it's actually really, like you just pointed out, it's really invaluable for both sides.
Cool, Mike. Let's put that on the agenda for 2025.
What was you saying about shiny object syndrome?
Well, our producer Annie's on here as well, so she's all good. Awesome, Kate. That was actually really valuable for us, and I think for a lot of people. Thank you so much for coming on. I know it's late there. And I kind of hope that we see you, because you're also in our mastermind. So I hope we can see you there a little bit more.
I need to set my alarm, but maybe once I get up to the Northern Hemisphere, I can join in a little bit more then.
Probably easier for you.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. That was great. I love talking about this. So really cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Kate.
Take care.
Thank you.